Welcome to podcast 27, Side Hustle Heroes HQ. We've got Jim Ed over here and Andrew over there. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Black
Man,
Friday. Did you hit the stores today?
man, I tell you, I was waiting in line. No, I did not hit the stores at all. I shop online now.
Did you shop online today?
I shopped online today, yes. I did not
Yeah.
buy anything though.
Yeah, I have not.
I found out that you can listen to your favorite podcast like Side Hustle Heroes HQ right through your Amazon, right through your Amazon Alexa. That's what I meant to say.
Oh,
But
that's pretty cool, man.
used to you could tell Amazon or your Amazon Alexa to play a podcast, like play Joe Rogan or something,
Mm-hmm.
and it would screw it up. It totally wouldn't play the right one. But now
Yeah.
I've learned that it will, the secret is tell it to play it wherever you listen to your podcast. So for me, that's Spotify. So I'll tell it to continue the podcast of the Joe Rogan Experience on Spotify, and it will
It
pick
opens
up
your
where I
Spotify
left
app.
off. Yeah, but it's just like it knows to go find it on Spotify, and then it goes, "Oh, that's where he was at on his last listen," or what. Anyway,
All right, awesome. Okay, yeah, what do we got going on today, Jim, man? Tell us what we got going on.
man, we got so much going on today. It's going to be a great podcast. As always, we're going to go over our numbers, and I'm excited to do that today, as are you, I bet.
I'm not,
And
actually.
you're not? Well, we'll
Nah.
skip yours. We'll go straight to mine.
Yeah, might as well.
But anyway, we've got Kayla on the podcast. She's our guest today. She is a nomad. She's from Pennsylvania, but she is traveling all over the world and with her and her husband, and she's doing riding.
Yeah.
She does some ghost riding, does some copy and stuff for GoDaddy and different things.
Drink.
So she's making her living doing that between her and her husband. They're not tied to a 9 to 5, which I certainly see the benefit of that, and good for those who can pull that off. Anyway, she's going to give us some color on that. It's going to be pretty interesting. And then, Andrew, why don't you go ahead? Oh, and after that, be sure and stay tuned after our guest, because Andrew is going to dive into some TikTok stuff that's pretty cool. We've discussed it. I asked him to save it for the air if he would. But let's go ahead and get into our numbers before we bring our guest in.
Let's do TikTok first, man, actually. Let's do our numbers, then TikTok, and then we'll have our guest. So my numbers, dude, I have not seen any lift in numbers at all lately. I think I said that I expected to make about $1,500 in November, unless numbers take off like crazy next 7 days, which they might. My numbers are pretty not great. So yesterday I was at $16. Last 7 days, $165. And then last 30, $734. It seemed like I think last month might even actually been better than this month. I think part of it is I really have not been uploading that many videos. And we had a kind of conversation. I was actually talking to Cody a little bit. I don't know what you were doing that day, building your fence or something. But he said, "Oh yeah, I wonder if there's more momentum in your numbers if you actually are uploading more videos." And I think there could be something there to where they give you a little bit better, more preferential treatment if you're uploading. But I think in general, you're probably going to see more sales if you're uploading more stuff, because guess what? Amazon's showing you some of your new stuff. And things do fall off a little bit, right? But it's really hard. I mean, you have so many products up, 700 products. Are you still getting some sales from products that from the very beginning? I'm getting some still, but it's probably hard to really do analysis without actually sitting down and doing some spreadsheet analysis, whatever. But there's some products that have been selling for 3 or 4 months for me. But, I really haven't uploaded new stuff. I'm not really getting, if there is some fall off, I'm not really getting a lot of new videos or getting a lot of momentum right now. That's going to change though. That's absolutely going to change, because I've got some focus to where I'm going to get a lot more videos uploaded. A little bit of a secret, Jimmy, we can't talk about it yet, but I'm hoping a certain thing that we're doing is going to bring in a lot more videos for us.
Yeah, we're testing some stuff. We'll let you guys know about it a little later, see if it works or not.
Yeah, I think it will, man. All right, let me hear about your numbers. I know you're doing a lot better. I've seen your numbers. And guys, we share our numbers every day with each other. If my numbers are really bad, I just kind of skip that day. But Jim Ed's been pretty dedicated. I've seen some nice numbers that you've been sending over the last couple of days.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, yesterday wasn't that good of numbers. 138. I've been in the over 150 for at least a week or so. I've had some over 200 days.
That's great.
It's been good.
Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, yesterday was 138.
Yep.
And the last 7, I've got 1,215 for the last 7.
Nice.
So If you think of that, what's that going to do if it continues? That's $5,000 a month right there.
Yeah, beautiful.
And my prediction for November was I was hoping to hit 5,000 and maybe hoping to hit 6 or 7 for December. I have for the last 30 days 3875, and we've got 6 more days left in the month. So, okay, but of course, remember that is the last 30 days. It's not like I'm just going to pile on whatever else. I'm going to have to really have some big days to pick that average up to being over 4,000.
Yeah, I did say that wrong. I don't know what I am for this month so far. I was looking last 30 at 734. So obviously, this month I don't know where I am right now, but I don't think I don't think I'm going to be over 1,000 this month at this point. So
yeah, I don't know. I bet you will be.
But
we'll see.
I know, Jimmy, I can't remember what we talked about on the podcast versus off the podcast, but I did hit record numbers for my FBA business last month. I know it's different, and I don't want to cause any confusion, guys, but it's a big thing, and we talk about this a lot. Big thing for me for sure. I hit 80,000 in October, and I'm on pace to hit probably a little bit higher than 80,000 this month. I don't think it's gonna be quite 90,000, but that's one of my goals to hit 100,000 by this year. The margin on that is probably somewhere around 17-18%. You guys can do the math and everything, but this is what I've been spending a lot of time on. I'm pretty excited about it. I want to be able to, eventually have someone run that business. Would love to be able to do that. I can do more things like Amazon influencer, and be doing some more courses, right? And there's some other things I want to do as well. So this is really exciting. Really enjoying this is actually becoming to where it is my full time right now. God is good.
So yeah, a little bit about what I've had going on this week beyond influencer, and I have been really slow. I've been stuck around 600 videos, little past 600 videos for a while. I've really slowed down on my video output, having to do a few things around the house. As Andrew is aware, I'm taking a workcation this week. I took off work Monday through Wednesday and started Friday evening, actually really kind of Thursday a little bit, working on a new fence. I've got a spot here between the shop that I'm in where I do the podcast and the house. It's about 50 feet. I've got this custom fence that I've finished out. I'm not going to bore you with the details on that, but if you are interested, I am putting a big video together. Hopefully this is going to be a big one for me on my YouTube channel. Go check it out over there at the Improvement channel. And the latest video will be the fence build, and it will probably be out when this airs. Hopefully, I'm working on the edits right now, and Andrew will drop this episode Sunday night or Monday morning, and hopefully I'll already have the video up for you guys to check it out. And while you're over there, be sure and subscribe.
Right on, man. All right, cool, dude. Let's talk about TikTok a little bit here. TikTok. I've been really interested in TikTok as far as talked about this a little bit, getting your account approved through Amazon. And a lot of people are talking about this, but this is not what we're talking about today. This is not why we're talking about TikTok today.
Before you jump into that, do you watch much TikTok?
Not a ton, but I am watching it more now just because I'm interested in seeing what different creators on TikTok are doing. Why do you ask?
Well, this is some of what you're going to get into. I've been watching it now for probably 6 or 8 months.
Yeah,
I would say probably like an unhealthy amount. A lot. I do enjoy it. I probably watch throughout the day probably an hour of TikTok. I really enjoy it. But what I have noticed, though, and this is kind of a little bit of what you're going to get into, man, these TikTok shops are taking over. Man, I mean, there is so much stuff on there that's about the TikTok shop. It seems like that used to be every, 6th or 10th video. Now it seems like it's 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10.
Yeah, TikTok shops is huge, dude. And that's what you got to ride the wave here. And when you start seeing a lot of this, when you see a company that's all in on something, you need to pay attention. TikTok. All right. A lot of people traditionally on TikTok before shops, and this is just like YouTube, this is like Instagram, where it's like affiliate programs. What's a great affiliate program? Amazon's got one, Amazon Associates. So what do people do? They do some videos, and then they say, link in bio. Here's a really cool trending product. Amazon made me buy it, right? Amazon made me buy it. TikTok. You've seen this before, Jim Ed, right?
Correct.
So that's been pretty popular for a while. People do really well. Link in bio. You have to kind of click to the bio, and then click that link. It's just a lot of clicking, right? So what TikTok Shops is doing is you don't have to do that anymore, right? TikTok Shops is actually like, there are sellers who are, they could have the physical product in hand, or they're drop shipping. There could be drop shipping, but they have their shops and they actually are recruiting affiliates. But TikTok helps you recruit affiliates by doing this. They actually have, you can actually go and find products on these. You can do a search once you become an affiliate of TikTok, and you can actually find products that you may already have, or that you might have already promoted on Amazon Influencer or whatever. Or if you don't have them, they even have samples you can get from some of these sellers. What happens is now you do a video, and as an affiliate, you can tag these different products from these shops. There's thousands of shops, right? And then what happens is you have this video, and usually you're going to want to have that product in hand, obviously, right? You do a review, or do like, this is a really cool product, trending product, whatever. And then what TikTok allows you to do is you can have they can click right through the store to buy the product. That's a game changer, absolute game changer. And this is what I'm kind of talking about. But what I've seen with TikTok lately is it's a lot easier to go viral with some of these products here. I'm still testing it, but it's very interesting. What's the opportunity for, let me try to boil it down. What's the opportunity for Amazon influencers? Well, a couple things. If you have products that you've already done like 500 reviews or something like that, I would say look on TikTok to see if any of the products you reviewed are actually on TikTok also. If they are, here's the recommendation. Don't just take your video from Amazon Influencer and move it over there. I would say do a new version of that video, or chop it up a little bit, make it more TikTok friendly. I think you're asking that as well, Jim Ed. A lot of your videos on Amazon Influencer aren't really conducive to the TikTok audience, right? You just change it up a little bit. Okay, so that's a big opportunity. The other opportunity is, and again, you're basically going to find a shop that has that product when you do a search. And if they have it, you become affiliate for that product. Okay, you're basically tagging it. You create a video. The last step in your video, you say, I want to tag this product. I think TikTok is a game changer.
It sounds like TikTok is beating Amazon Inspire at its own game a little bit. Sounds pretty close, don't it?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I think it's a better version of Inspire. Good point. I kind of forgot about Inspire because we just don't talk about it very much. We don't think about it very much. That's a good point, Jim Ed.
Yeah, I think so. And TikTok to me may be stepping on its own foot a little bit here, because I don't know if you caught what I was alluding to earlier when I was mentioning, when you go on Amazon Inspire, which I have, it's a scroll through TikTok style. Look at stuff. What's on it? Only thing that's on it is influencers that have uploaded something on there. And it's walking around a bathroom typically, or a decorated area, and hitting a handful of things, right?
It's all products.
100 out of 100 videos are all products.
Got it.
You jump on TikTok, and out of those 100 videos, 70 or ish are entertainment videos that are catered toward what you want to watch.
Right.
And you're getting commercials basically chopped in there that are disguised as entertainment a lot of times. And some of them are entertaining, to my point. That's where TikTok is doing really well with this. But I think they may be stepping on their own foot. They're peppering too many commercials in there.
Yeah, you call it commercials. It's not a commercial.
It's not a commercial at all. Okay, it's not a paid advertisement. Yeah, it is a TikTok shop influencer trying to sell you something.
There you go.
So, but they're putting too much of that in there. That might be where they're stepping on their own foot.
It's product promotions is the word.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Product promotions. Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah. And they're probably doing a lot of testing and everything like that right now. But let's summarize. There's an opportunity there. Amazon influencer, maybe some of your products might already be on TikTok. Now, how do you get, your account going? There's a couple things here, and I don't want to get these. This is probably another podcast, but there's ways for you to you have to have 5,000 followers, I think, to get a legit account. But what I've done and what other people are doing is you can get a TikTok shop first, and then you get just a TikTok account. You connect those things together, and then by doing the connection, you actually have what's called a shop, but you also have this TikTok creator account where you can actually become an affiliate for some products. What does that mean? You can do exactly what we're talking about with Amazon influencer. You also can get product samples. Now, there's a couple of things I've heard that there's different. It's a little confusing still, and this is all new, but this is why a lot of conversations about this. The TikTok, once you get 5,000, on your TikTok, then you can get all these other features. But if you're just starting from scratch, you can't necessarily get all the same features. And one of the features is asking for free samples, which is really cool, right? Right now, I can't ask for free samples. I can become an affiliate, but I can't ask for free samples. But what they've said is you can contact the creator and say, love your store, love your shop. Could you give me a sample of one of your products? Here's my address. And I've heard they'll send samples. Okay. And TikTok actually even sent me a sample. This is not even a content creator. TikTok sent me, they have a little program saying, hey, choose a product. We want you to review this in 30 days. They're trying to get you to get comfortable doing videos. They sent me this little ring light thing. It's like a little telescopic thing. It's really cool. I'm going to review this and do a video on TikTok. Pretty cool. More to come on this, guys. I think am I saying don't do Amazon influencer anymore? No, do Amazon influencer, but we're talking about other streams of income that are related to this. Don't sleep on these things because there's definitely some opportunities. There's someone talking about they made over $1,000 on TikTok as an affiliate. Pretty interesting thing. The commissions are higher. We'll see. So I'll be messing around with this a little bit. I'm actually going to do something with my Harvey Coffee company. That's one of my, I have a coffee company. So that I'm actually get started to do a shop, and we'll see how it goes. I might actually recruit some affiliates. Maybe we'll see how this kind of works. And I'm also going to see from the other perspective of being an affiliate. I'm pretty excited about this opportunity. More to come on that.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. That's very interesting. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So everyone, today we've got an exciting guest. Her name is Kayla, and she's a freelance writer, and she has a book that's coming out in January. Is that right? Yeah, January 3rd, correct?
3rd from the whole world except North America, and North America it's coming out the 30th. So
awesome, and it's about being a digital nomad. We can't wait to hear about this. I think it's going to be a good topic that's going to resonate with the Side Hustle Heroes audience that we've got here. Can't wait to talk to you and get to know you better, Kayla. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Andrew.
And my first question is typically like what we ask all our guests is, who are you? Tell us about you. That's the most important thing before we get started on other questions.
And hi, Kayla. I'm Jim Ed. I'm on the podcast as well.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is Jim Ed, and he's a very successful Amazon influencer.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm currently freezing to slowly in the Netherlands, but I'm from Pennsylvania in the U.S. and I have a very normal story. I think a lot of people go through this where you feel like you worked really hard for something and then you arrived and you were disappointed. You felt like I got to this point in my career where I was living in Chicago. I was working in downtown, had my own apartment for the first time. I kind of felt like I had made it in life at 23. And then I just was not enjoying it that much. And I kind of became obsessed with this feeling that I thought life was more fun than this. And I started asking my colleagues, isn't life supposed to be fun? And everyone kind of had this like, yes, it should be, but it's just not. And don't worry, you'll get used to it. And that was like fuel on the fire. I was terrified of getting used to it. Like, who wants to get used to sleepwalking through life, which is how I felt. And I became obsessed with the idea of traveling. And I started a freelance writing, and I kind of did it on the side at first. That was my side hustle while I was still working my 9-to-5. And then I went full time and got rid of my apartment and my stuff, and I bought a one-way ticket out of the U.S., and that was 6 years ago, and I've been abroad more or less ever since.
That's exciting. What was your day job, by the way, before you quit?
I was a marketing coordinator for an architecture firm, but I basically just did graphic design all day. I was making documents that were like proposals for companies to get to review, and it was very enjoyable, to be honest. It was pretty low stress, and life was very comfortable, which made it kind of hard to feel, I felt like, am I just not being grateful? This is actually like a pretty nice gig. But yeah, sometimes you just want something else.
Well, that's what I was going to guess. I imagine that probably paid pretty well, and you could really see yourself getting settled into that in a long-term situation, right?
Yeah, it paid like 4 times what my previous job paid. I was living at the poverty line before that. It wasn't a hard jump to make, but yeah, it was very comfortable. And I had that meeting, after it was like my first year there, and I had a meeting with the higher ups, and they were talking about my 10-year trajectory with the firm, and it looked both really good and also really opposite of what I felt. But you think, well, this is what I worked for, isn't it?
Yeah. What was your side hustle that you were able to start doing that became, I guess now it sounds like that is your full-time income?
Yeah, I write full time now, and my husband as well. We co-own our writing company that our freelance business. And I started freelance writing. I had some experience just to like add that in. I did have some experience freelance writing whenever I was in college, but I hadn't relied on that for any amount of real income. And then I found a listing on Craigslist where somebody was looking for a freelance writer, and I just started taking all the jobs I could find. And they were not good. They were like writing for not very, I don't know, kind of tabloid-esque online magazines was one of them. That was one of my regular gigs. And I was also writing like product descriptions for headlights for cars. I didn't even have a car. And I was writing these product descriptions.
Oh, yeah.
It was very much a means to an, I think I was paid like 25 cents a listing. It was, you almost couldn't, like the checks were nothing. It was like $2.40. I was really desperate though. I felt like I needed to get my foot in the door, and that was my way. Craigslist was where I found a lot of my work back then.
Oh, wow. So what are you doing now? Like, now that you're doing this full time, like, what kind of gigs are you typically getting?
Right now, I'm a writer for HubSpot and GoDaddy, and I also do ghostwriting for other clients. I focus on SEO writing now. I found my specialty. I'm no longer writing product descriptions for Jeep headlights, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And I also, I wrote a book that's coming out, which you mentioned. So I'm open to a lot of opportunities in the writing world because there's so much freelance writing work, and a lot of people talk about like niching down. And I personally have enjoyed working with people in like really different niches, like professional chess players and fashion designers and hand lettering artists. These people who have taken their passions like all the way in with their online businesses. They're so cool to work with. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. But I kind of have that marketing background. Marketing writing is kind of my like big, if I had to put myself in a bucket.
I have to ask you this now. How does AI impact what you're doing now? Because I know it's now everyone's like, oh, just write articles, just have ChatGPT write you articles and you're good to go, which I know they don't do very well on Google when you just do it as is. I've got to hear about what you think about AI and then how it's impacting what you're doing as a writer.
I think AI made me more expensive as a writer. I feel like my rates went up because everyone's all of a sudden putting out really average content. Because before you kind of had like the very cheap content, people who are on sites like Fiverr selling articles for like $5. And those people were never my competition. And I was always higher up. And now there's kind of this gap all of a sudden between the cheapest stuff out there and then the professional writers like that I'm in part of. And there was this big gap, this big jump. And now AI's filled that void. And I actually think that people are really keen to find someone doing it the real way. Because, I mean, AI, whenever it's writing articles, it's a plagiarism tool. And I don't think it's a legitimate way to fuel your website with good content unless you're heavily editing. And even then, I mean, I've experimented because I want to know what's out there. It's like I want to know how my field is changing, and it has always taken me more time to edit than it could have ever taken me to come up with original ideas. So I'm not afraid of it personally, and Google doesn't like it at all. Google just had a massive update, and I forget what percentage of websites on the internet have now lost more than 50% of their website traffic from Google. Google has gone through enormous changes, and I don't think that AI is going to stand the test of time. AI writing.
Yeah, what I've seen that AI is good at doing, it's like it's coming up with ideas. I want some ideas for this topic, it's going to rattle off some great ideas, and you can flesh those things out. I don't know if I'm not asking if you've used this or what, but I think it is. I've used this for idea stars for sure as an outline, but I think it's up to us humans to come up with that content to fill in, and we should have some expert knowledge about some of the things we're writing about anyway, and not have to rely on ChatGPT to do that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would enjoy reading a website. And then there's like the really unethical end of AI, where people are publishing books on Amazon. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, where people are publishing books on like foraging mushrooms completely generated by AI. That will kill people. I've read about this a little bit. I mean, there's like the dangerous all the way down to the useless down to the stupid. To me, that's the scale of AI writing, and I personally am not going to put myself on that scale.
Yeah, very interesting. Jim, so I know you had something you wanted to ask as well. This is really interesting, Kayla.
Yeah, it is. You mentioned like some stuff that I'm sure everybody that's listened to the podcast is familiar with, like GoDaddy. Just give us a little bit like on what you do for them. if you will, so we can understand it a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go on GoDaddy's website, they have all of their resources. They're like products, but they also have all of these free resources where they're just trying to help educate and empower their readers on how to be better entrepreneurs. GoDaddy's main audience, that's what the audience that I always write for, people who are trying to, side hustles or be full-time entrepreneurs. I write articles on anything. I just wrote an article on how to use LinkedIn in 2024. I'm trying to think of some other, how to use Pinterest, a lot about Pinterest. That's one of my marketing specialties. And yeah, I write guides that are almost always for beginners, helping people get started. And, there's a lot of things as entrepreneurs, I think, or, people with their side hustles, everyone can relate to the feeling that they should be doing something. Like, oh, I know I should be on TikTok. It's so big. But then, like, how do you do something for TikTok today that's productive for you? I try to write to bridge that gap between, I know SEO is important, but I don't know what to do. And I try to explain, this is what it is. This is what it can be for you. Because, also helping people self-select. Like, how do you know something's worth your time? Your time is your most precious resource.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess like working for you, it seems like you work for several fairly well-known. You're probably staying busy and kind of helps level out the ups and downs of, the nomad lifestyle of freelancing and whatnot. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, it didn't used to be that way as much. Whenever I started, it was very feast and famine cycle, and that is a really hard place to be as a freelancer. It's a place that most people start at. And yeah, it's nice. I have some retainer clients that are there on a monthly basis that I ghostwrite for. And then the stuff like GoDaddy and HubSpot, those are on assignment basis based on their needs and their quarterly budget. And then at the end of the quarter, there's always like a slam of everyone trying to spend the rest of their budget. So the end of the quarter is always a special time.
No, awesome.
Tons of articles flying by.
Oh yeah,
Plenty
so,
to
Kayla,
do.
for the last 6 years, have you literally been a digital nomad the last 6 years? Is that right?
I have been abroad and working online. At points for 5 years, I had a home base in the Netherlands. I was more of an expat than a digital nomad, but I was still traveling for months out of the year and building my business and yeah, just trying to support myself abroad. That became my real mission. Once it kind of moved beyond just traveling, but then realizing, because I met my husband, Bert-Jan, a month into traveling in 2017. Yeah. And then I came to his country of the Netherlands. And for me, I could have gotten back into the job market, but then what? I thought in 6 months, I'm going to be the exact same person I was in Chicago, except I'm making less money and I don't speak the language here. I'm not going to get back. To me, that was like a really losing avenue to take. I thought this is the moment. It's not just about travel. It's about being able to show up how I need and want to in my marriage. His father was sick. That's why we kind of urgently came back to the Netherlands. And I thought, and then what if my father's sick? I want us to be able to go there and be there for months if we need to be. It became much less about travel itself and more about the flexibility and the freedom that everyone who is listening is after. Everybody wants more freedom. And yeah, that's what it gave to me. Working online became that like ultimate vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. With the traveling around, how does your husband have a job that's this flexible?
Yeah, he didn't. And at first he thought that the work online thing and combining work and travel was kind of like unsavory. He would save up his money. He was a high school teacher and then he would quit and go traveling for months until he ran out of money and then go home and kind of do it all again. And whenever we met, he had never heard of anyone working online and he didn't even have Wi-Fi in his apartment. He was like the opposite. He didn't have a laptop. He was the opposite of a digital anything. And then he started to learn about the kind of like the lifestyle, and I told him, I'm going to build my business and then you can come work with me and you can quit teaching. And after 2 years it worked and he did get to quit his job. It was 2 long years, it was long, and it was a slow success story. You see a lot of fast success stories online, like after 6 months, this amazing thing happened. And I always like to kind of emphasize the years, plural, because there's a lot of people who succeeded and it took longer. And I think a lot of people who quit because they thought that it wasn't working or they weren't cut out for it. But most success stories are kind of slow burns until you kind of hit that break. And my husband is a writer now as well.
Awesome. Absolutely. Well, good for you for just y'all jumping out there and doing it. That's what a lot of it's about. That's a lot of what we talk to our audience about with side hustles. It's like, you've taken a side hustle and figured out a way to make that your main thing. While we do Amazon influencers, we talk about that. That may not be the best side hustle because it's just one stream of income that is very it can be up and down to the whims of kind of how Amazon wants things to go. But like for you, you've got all of these different places you work for. If even one of the major ones went bye-bye tomorrow, then you can just jump in and maybe pick up 3 small ones, or something like, something along those lines.
Yeah, that's where skills to me became like the most valuable thing I had. Like learning, and I think that everyone listening has really sharpened, developed skills on their journeys as well. And I think that if you can kind of zoom out a little bit, like instead of thinking like, to me, even thinking like I'm a writer, like I need to find writing work, but kind of zooming out and realizing like I'm a marketer, and I have found work even consulting in marketing whenever there weren't a lot of writing contracts, because I had all of this expertise with writing blogs, auditing people's blogs, and providing that consulting service. It's amazing what you learn whenever you're building a side hustle on your own. I think that everyone can probably really relate to that.
Yeah, I love that. And Jim, we've talked about this, and in fact, a conversation we had yesterday with a business leader, is that, this Amazon influencer, for instance, is only a foundation. It's only a foundation for other things. And I think, and that's one of the guys we listen to as well. I'm forgetting his name now. Whatever. We'll have this part out. The guy that we listened to his State of the Union.
Travis.
Yeah, Travis. Travis talked about it's only a foundation. That's why a lot of side hustles also. It's a beginning place. Because if the people who are literally saying, oh, my numbers are down or this is not going so well, they're going to quit and fizzle. But take a step back and realize, what have you learned as an Amazon influencer? Well, you've learned how to shoot some videos. You learn how to be comfortable in front of a camera. You learn some things about, in order to get in there, you have to have a social media account. Some people are learning how to do that, to create content, to post content. And then it's like, oh, wow. So then you have relationships with suppliers who are giving you free product. Now it's negotiating, it's talking, all these things that you can learn. And I think some people are going to be like cookie cutter. Just tell me what videos I need to do. Tell me what products I need to review. Those people will probably burn out, fizzle out, and they're done. But this can be a starting place for lots of people. I love the way you're talking about your writing. It can go in a lot of different directions. That's really exciting to me that a good side hustle probably is going to propel you to do other things, to do bigger things, and lay a foundation for bigger things. I think it's pretty cool. I have to ask you, this is probably a fun question, but it's you've traveled a lot of different places. What's the most interesting place that you've actually lived, or not lived, but actually gone to, visited?
I really, really liked Guatemala. That's one of my favorite places. The food, the atmosphere. Yeah, some countries just kind of have like a buzz and energy to them, like a vibe. And to me, Guatemala is one of the most memorable places.
And I was going to ask you go ahead, Jim.
What's one of the places that seems to be like, okay, I get a lot of bang for my buck here?
Yeah.
Oh, Croatia. That's where I'm headed next. Yesterday we booked 2 months in Croatia. So Croatia, yeah, it's actually really, really fun. If anyone wants to kill some time and not do it on social media, go to Airbnb and select a month. You're going away for a month and see what you can get for $1,000 all over the world. That is the most alluring daydream. And yeah, we just went through and booked a few things yesterday. Kind of.
When you go to these different places, do you usually do it for about a month or so? You don't just do it for a few days. It's usually like you get there, you get kind of established. Is that typically the way you like to do things?
I like to stay each place for a month because it gives you more of a routine, but you also get this enormous discount on Airbnb. Like we got an Airbnb in Split, Croatia. It's normally $3,000 a month, but because we're staying for a whole month and it's in the off season, we got it for $900.
That's amazing.
It has a balcony, sea view. I mean, that's a lifestyle that we access by slowing down. And because we don't have rent, we don't have mortgage, we got rid of all of our stuff in April. We don't have a car. We've never had a car. We walked everything in plastic bags. We literally had like shopping bags, and every day for 2 months, we would take a walk to the park, through the park, and drop off 2 bags each at the secondhand store. And we did that. We were like ants, like moving food from a picnic, like a million, like little bits at a time. We got rid of all of our stuff, and we have 2 backpacks that we travel with each.
What's your least favorite place that you visited?
Oh gosh.
You ever been to Garland, Texas?
That's where Excuse me. Yeah.
Well, in the U.S., I've been to 44 of the states. I feel like I can say this as an authority. Nevada is the worst place. I mean, that's probably... There's not even roadkill. There's just signs that say penitentiary area, do not pick up hitchhikers. It's all Nevada has. As far, I think I drove for like 12 hours and that was
You like
it.
Las Vegas?
No.
Well, that's in Nevada, right? So
Anyway.
probably not. Okay, that's your least favorite place. It's Las Vegas or Nevada. Okay, sounds good.
All right, hold on. Before we move on too far, so I want to drill down just a little bit on this Airbnb. You've looked at it. You know what you're getting into. When you get into this Airbnb, how far away is the grocery store? Are you looking at those sort of things, or are you just kind of having to figure it out when you get there?
30-minute walk to the grocery store. That has to be it. It can't be more than that. In a real grocery store, because in a lot of other countries, like in like Portugal, you type in grocery and it gives you like mini marts that just sell beer and like chips. No, it has to be a legitimate grocery store, like an Aldi or something. And it also needs to be like a 10-minute walk to something interesting. The beach, a hiking trail, downtown area, the city center, something like that. Because you're still working normally. Like we work 40 hours a week. Whenever we close our laptops, we need to be immediately immersed in something. Or, what's the point of giving up your home base if you're just gonna, because life's harder whenever you're in another country or even just in another part of your own country. You like don't know where even this simple thing of like going to the grocery store and not knowing where to find things, that takes extra energy. Yeah. If you do that for a year and you're not enjoying it, you're not like, wow, but look at the Alps. Oh, look, I get to walk on the beach. Like we had an Airbnb in Greece for a month where it was a solid 30-minute walk each way to the grocery store. That was pushing our limits, but we literally walked along the Mediterranean. Like we would take off our shoes and roll up our jeans and walk with our feet in the ocean and it was always at sunset. And this was in the winter as well. People were still swimming, Wow. That's the kind of trade-off. You need to really enjoy. You need to be present and in the joy of the experience, or all you experience is the difficulty of it.
How many square feet is this Airbnb, and does it come with Wi-Fi and all the creature comforts that we'd be used to in America?
Yeah, I always check the boxes on Airbnb. You can go check what you only want to see, the listings with these things. And it's always Wi-Fi. Everyone has Wi-Fi, but you also need to get the Wi-Fi speed. For me, it needs to be over 100. That's kind of my limit. And hosts will check that for you. It needs a kitchen, and a real kitchen, not like a hot plate that you plug in. Because sometimes people have those hot plates and they literally don't have pots or pans. They just wanted to check the box that there was a kitchen. It's not a kitchen. And I guess those are the big ones. Oh, and a washing machine. I don't like having to pay people to wash my socks.
So this one you're going to, is it like 1,000 square feet?
We're both talking, sorry.
I'm sorry. Is it like 1,000 square feet, something like that?
These are like normal apartments, like kitchen, living room, 1 bedroom, sometimes 2 bedrooms. I couldn't say the square footage. Probably, I've never owned a home. I've never really thought about how many square feet things are. I'm sorry.
Jim Ed's asking a lot of questions about this because he owns some Airbnbs. He owns some houses.
One Airbnb.
He wants to get all the scooping of all of the stuff. Maybe.
Oh, I could help you make it remote work ready. I send people tips sometimes.
Yes.
No, well, I was just in Mexico for 2 months, and it was hot. It was 90 plus every day, and and then we came back, and at first it's wow, isn't it nice? You wake up and you don't sweat, and you're like, this is wonderful. But now it's just cold, and there's a different type of cold. Like in the U.S., we have the term wind chill, but in the Netherlands and other moist places, they have the term water chill, where there's literally so much water in the air. And to me, it's not the wind chill. It's the water. You put on your, to me, because I'm not from here, I put on my clothes in the morning and they feel damp. It is that's what gets me. And you can't keep water chill out. There's no number of blankets. It's just a damp. Ugh.
Is it moldy
It happens a lot.
Inside? Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a lake one time. There was a north wind. It was so cold. And I know exactly what you mean. That chill, the wind, the water was so cold, the temperature. I felt like it was this cold, chilled wind that also had some moisture in it, and I've never been colder. It was cutting through my jacket like a knife. It was brutal. And I just remember and I was like, why am I so cold? It's that the water temperature is probably 45, 50 degrees. And it was just, the wind was blowing off that water. Is just awful. But
yeah, it's cold humidity. I've never lived anywhere in the U.S. that had cold humidity. And then you come here, and also there's 4-year-old kids biking to school in it, and they're on their bikes, and they don't even notice it. And I'm dying. I feel I cannot overstate my hatred for the water chill. It's my nemesis. That's why we started going away in winter, because, it's also very dark here in winter. It's not Norway where they don't have sunlight, but in the Netherlands they lose 8 or 9 hours of daylight between summer and winter. So the sun comes up at 4 in the morning. normally in the summer, and then in winter it comes up at like 8:30.
Wow.
And it's dark by 5, I guess.
Oh, so it's dark by
Yeah.
like 3. Like the golden hour of like the sunset, I think is 3. Starts at 3.
So it's
So, Kayla,
4:30 here on Central Time when we're recording this. What is it where you're at?
Yeah.
It's 10:30, but Europe changed the clocks for daylight savings, and the US didn't. And then like the US does it one week, and then Australia does it another week. To me, this is like the season of, are we sure we're talking at 10?
Yeah.
Because even Google Calendar gets it wrong sometimes.
We were supposed to maybe do away with that, but I think our leaders decided that we needed to still change the time for some reason.
Something like that.
It was supposed to. We did it originally for farming, but I had one more question, and then we want to get a little bit more into your book. Healthcare. Do you just like nomad lifestyle, no healthcare? How's that kind of work?
I have travel healthcare. So in the US, a really popular company is Safety Wing. I would say they're the most popular. They're like Digital Nomad Health. That's what they do. And then, that covers you for things out of the US. Also like emergencies as well, like people who needed like emergency travel out of COVID outbreak areas. People speak very highly of it, but because I'm registered, I'm actually a Dutch citizen now. So I have healthcare here in the Netherlands, and that covers us whenever we travel, but it's also cheap and very cheap for Americans. Everything's a discount. Like I've been to the hospital or the doctor in, I don't know, 4 or 5 countries. And even paying out of pocket for like a hospital visit has never been more than $300. Sometimes I don't even do the paperwork for the insurance because it feels like such a hassle.
Gotcha. So I think you've already given us some really good tips for our audience as far as like when you are traveling abroad. But we're running close to our time. So, but I just maybe in summary, what are some obstacles you've had to overcome when you've been traveling abroad and doing this digital nomadism? And what are some things like? I just drew a blank. Sorry, that was a question. Yeah. What are some obstacles you ran into, and what are the solutions? And this is specifically for our audience that might want to travel a little bit.
The biggest obstacle that people have is they start traveling and they don't enjoy it because they're so stressed out by their work habits or their work. And, it is hard to balance work and travel because they're like very opposing forces. But I think that most people fail because a lot of people become digital nomads. And then after a few months, they, go back home and they say that, it wasn't for them or they didn't really know what they were getting themselves into. And I think like 80% of the time, it's about expectations and work style. Like people think that work is this like side thing to traveling, but in reality, you need to think about working 40 hours a week and then you're just traveling in the evenings and the weekends. It's not like you're not living on vacation. Expectations are really, really important. And then a lot of people realize that they're not maybe as disciplined or they're disorganized or, I did this whenever I was a new traveler. I left my computer charger in a hostel and then I couldn't get a replacement. I couldn't find one. Nobody had it. You are your own worst enemy. And I think if people kind of ask themselves, like, if you were on an island today with like patchy Wi-Fi, would you be like, how much, like, where would you be stress level wise? And if you think, I'm always ahead of my work, I'm very organized, it's okay, then you would probably smooth as butter, maybe transition into the lifestyle. But for people who kind of have quirks that sabotage their success at home, those are going to be really, and like the volume will be turned up on those on the road.
Yeah. Is there anything else? This is great. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your book that's coming out? Reasons to buy this book or why our audience would find this interesting?
If anyone has been thinking about traveling or has heard about the lifestyle and wondered, does it live up to the hype? It really is better than the hype. If you like to travel and you can work online, there's like no better feeling than to be able to just choose, get in the mood. It's too cold. I'm going to go to the Mediterranean for a month. I mean, that freedom is incredible. And I tried to make the book a really, really practical guide and include a whole narrative of what digital nomads look like, because a lot of people think that only like 20-year-olds are digital nomads and the movement is so new. This is like a thing for millennials or Gen Z, but I actually found and interviewed and profiled in the book the first digital nomad, and he started traveling in 1983 with the first ever portable computer, the Radio Shack Model 100.
Who was that?
Stephen K. Roberts. He is incredibly cool. He's also a writer, and he lived out of a tent and rode his bike around the US for like 10 years. And he would plug his computer. It like had suction cups that would go on a payphone, and it was called an acoustic coupler, and it would like send his writing to a fax machine, I believe. I don't know about the fax machine, but the acoustic coupler was the name of the device.
Wow.
And this movement is not new. I found digital nomads spanning 5 decades, the 80s, 90s, to early 2000s, 2010s, and now. And everyone has the same story. I thought this would be really cool if it worked out. And then everyone moved on to other really cool dreams, like people who like got into real estate because they realized, hey, it wasn't that hard. I just had to try, and this worked out. Like the confidence and the kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's very much like a domino effect of dreams realized. That to me was one of the big themes of profiling people over, 5 decades.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I've got a question.
Fascinating.
So the wife and I were watching a show the other night, and we were talking, and it's like, yeah, the best thing they could do is just sell everything and move out of the country because they're in trouble. So if I was like, that's what I would do. She goes, would you want to move out of the country? I was like, I'm ready to go right now, and someone will take my Amazon money and go. So, but could I move to Guatemala, sell everything, move to Guatemala, and live there for $3,500 a month coming in? You think
you could live most places in the world for that much?
Fairly comfortably, as long as I'm good with walking 30 minutes to the grocery store, right?
Yeah, you would be amazed. I mean, even at 2,000, if you look at getting 2,000 around the world, you would be amazed at what you can get. The quality of life. I mean, a lot of people do that. They move abroad, and everyone thinks that it's expensive or it's this big sacrifice, and you do sacrifice things, of course, but I met people whenever I was researching my book who moved abroad to have financial prosperity, like people who moved to China as English teachers and had an incredible life, had these salaries and savings, and they specifically went abroad to flourish financially. And I think it's an avenue that people don't consider enough, especially native English speakers with a U.S. passport. I mean, those are the two of the biggest hurdles to opportunity abroad, is having the right passport privilege.
Yeah.
U.S. passport gets you into an enormous part of the world visa-free, and speaking English as a native language, you are not going to have, the opportunity is incredible. Like, you are already so far ahead if you have that. Anyone listening who's interested could do it.
Interesting.
Good.
Very interesting.
Hey, good for you. I will tell you a quick little story. I know we're wrapping up on time, but when I was a little bit older than you, most likely when I was 32, I moved from where I'd grown up in the area, worked in the area, and that was in East Tennessee, and moved to Texas. And it was such a growing experience getting unplugged from the network of people that I've known my whole life, and to go somewhere else and figure it out on your own. With not much of a safety net in a situation like that. You've done that on the extreme. I think that's great for you. You and your husband are going to grow so much closer together. You're going to depend on each other, and you're just going to grow as an individual, seeing so many things. I see so many people back home when I go back to visit, that never left, they've never been out, and they don't get to experience things. And you experience so much more than I have, just living in a couple of places, living all over the place. I think that is just so awesome and good for you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Jamed.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us today. Kayla, I really wish you success with your book that's coming out, and I can't wait to read it. And Jamed, I'll we'll make sure both of us read your book, and I think it's really fascinating. And it makes me really whets my appetite to really want to travel more often. Guys who are listening, really hope that this is going to kind of get you excited about, hey, we can do this. We can do this. And a lot of times you think, I have to have all this money to be able to do this. Not necessarily. I love the idea of this. And let me ask my wife, Mandy, can we? Yeah. Ask her if she's good with doing that. So thanks again.
I think Mandy will be packing a bag. She might be in there packing right now.
Yeah.
She's not.
I think she's totally not. Because we actually have, probably the cheapest place we ever went on vacation was Budapest. It was a lot of fun. That was probably, and it was an amazingly inexpensive to stay in the Airbnb there. Europe, not so cheap, but not as ridiculous as I thought it would be. I think it's really resonating as far as like, man, you don't have to pay all this money to live other places. But
no.
Yeah, anything else in closing? I know we're kind of over our time. But
I got a little something. Kayla, will you
tell us? Kayla,
yeah, Kayla, will you tell us the name of your book?
Oh,
Oh yeah, it's how to be a digital nomad, build a successful career while traveling the world.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, we're going to put that in the show notes.
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to plug?
No, go for it. I'm plugging your plan A. If you think that would be best case scenario, then that's what I'm plugging. Go for it. Believe in plan A. Plan B is waiting for you if plan A doesn't work out. So you've already got it in the bag. So yeah, shoot
All
big.
right. Well, you heard it from Kayla. If you're out there and you're an Amazon influencer and you're close to where I'm at, or probably beyond where I'm at, making 3,500 a month on Amazon, maybe you're about ready. The only thing that I would wonder, though, a lot of these places you're going, is there that much stuff that could really be reviewed? I think a lot of times once you get outside the U.S., there's a lot less stuff everywhere. Is that kind of
Yeah, Amazon specifically is a bit of a like Amazon Netherlands just opened since I moved here, and it was really weird seeing no reviews and very few products, and yeah,
On the other
it's not
hand,
the same.
maybe,
fresh market?
but Amazon FBA on the other hand, which is what I'm doing full time now. Left my job in June, right, Janet?
Nice.
Left
That's
my
right.
job in June. Yeah, the podcast our audience knows that I was laid off, but I'm gonna start. My message now is I left my job in June to
You said
pursue
that so
Amazon
confidently. I
career.
believed it.
Sounded so
Yes.
much better, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the cool thing
Yeah.
about this is you can run a business like that remotely through Prep Center. Literally, you can be selling where you are now. You can source products in the United States, for instance, and get that stuff prepped, and then ship it to customers all through Amazon. Everything they're doing, Prep Centers and Amazon. It's amazing what can be done with technology and what's done virtually. So many things can be done. I'm sure there's a way to make money with Amazon Influencer. Maybe remotely, Jim Ed. Why not have a remote team in the United States where we have all this stuff that people don't need most of the time? They can review it.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think thinking outside the box a little bit is amazing. We might be onto something here, Jim Ed. Maybe we should talk about that in our course coming out about how you can do this remotely, how you can actually build an Amazon influencer empire, even if you don't live in the United States.
Yeah.
So,
There's ways. Well,
yeah.
Kayla, it was nice to meet you. It's great to know you now. If there's
Yeah.
anything we can do for you, feel free to reach out. And best of luck to you. Thank you for
Thank
being
you
on the
so
podcast.
much, guys. Thanks, Jamed. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
And bye-bye. Well, Jim Ed, Kayla was a great guest. So really enjoyed talking to her. And I know we were talking a little bit about Amazon influencer. Can you actually be a digital nomad and actually do Amazon influencer? And I think the answer is like, I'm not really sure how you can do that. But, it's like kind of sometimes when you say, I don't think you can, but then you're like, maybe you could. And then here's the thing. Here's what I love about business, Jim, and I think you probably do this a lot. I think all of us should be doing it more. But you learn you're doing something that's nothing to do with Amazon influencer, but then you're like, wait a second, this is working for this. Could we apply this to what we're doing here? And I'm always doing that kind of things. Amazon FBA, what do people do live in other countries? At stores, some of these stores in other countries, they don't get that many sales. US is where a lot of and then UK is good too, but US is really where a lot of sales come in. There are people who live in other countries that they're like, I want a piece of the US business. Well, guess what they do? They have prep centers that they work with in the US where they actually ship products from the US to that prep center. That prep center sends it to Amazon through that person's account that lives in Africa, whatever the country you're talking about. Right. So sorry, it's not a country. Yeah. that lives in another country, right? Another continent, right? So they're able to do that. The question is, and that's all legit. It's not like this, oh, you're not allowed to do that. No, you can. The question is, could someone in another country who really wants to travel, or someone who wants to leave the US and travel around, could they still operate an Amazon influencer business, even if they're not in the States?
Well, with some of the stuff that we're not talking about yet, there might be a way. Hey, let's not forget to remind everybody as well that we have a course coming up.
Yes.
We've got a course coming up, and how they could find out and get on the list to be notified as soon as the course drops. How could you do that?
Yeah, AZ Influencer. Proven, azinfluencer.com. It is coming out soon. A lot of the information that you've been hearing here will be in it, but it's going to be a lot more concentrated, and we're going to have, it's going to be a lot more digestible. I'd say from a course perspective, where it's deep dives, and it's going to be over 4 or 5 weeks, and then you get everything you need, right? Our podcast is like, let's talk about this for a little while. Let's talk about that. And that's a podcast format, right? It's great. But this is going to be less about Jim Ed's turkey or his fence and more about, man, let's get down to it, brass tacks, and Q&A. Q&A to me is going to be the best part of this, in my opinion. We're going to answer questions that people have live, which is going to be huge. We're also going to be looking at people's accounts, videos, all that stuff. This is going to be, much more of a, effective and deep dive and concentrated, like a course, like you're actually taking a class for just a couple months. And you're getting all the information you need to. There will be a corresponding Facebook group as well.
Yeah, you're certainly not going to have to fish around over 30-something episodes to find out most of the information. We're going to have all the information, and it's all going to be covered, especially due to the Q&A.
And the latest and greatest as well, right? It's the latest and greatest, all the information, and things that we're learning like TikTok, shops, for instance. We may talk about that a little bit. Courses in January. I'm always out testing things, and I look at Jim Ed as the guy that's focusing on Amazon influencer, cranking these videos out. And that's great. And I think I'm probably, in some ways, it's like squirrel. I'm very easily distracted and like, let me look at this over here. But part of the reason I'm doing this is because I want to be able to tell you guys, come back and say, man, this is really cool, Jim Ed. We shouldn't sleep on this. This might be a good opportunity for us to make some additional money. Because like thinking of this, Amazon influencer is a foundation. It's a foundation. From there, can you go other places? Absolutely. I really believe you can. But right now, Amazon influencer is a really fruitful, productive opportunity for a lot of us. People are making thousands of dollars. And you think about this, Jim Ed, I was like, I really haven't made a ton of money, but I've made thousands. And so I'd say, how many side hustles have you actually made thousands of dollars on? Most people don't make thousands of dollars on any side hustle. Pretty darn cool. And you're over 20,000, I think, with your Amazon influencer right now. It's probably approaching 30 at this point.
I think we were over 30 last time we looked, weren't we?
Man,
I don't remember. But anyway, I kind of started to say it earlier, but I said I haven't been doing too many videos. I am proud to say the fence project was possibly going to go through today. I was able to wrap it up on Wednesday. So we did our Thanksgiving dinner and everything with the family and all that. But before and after, the wife and I got completely caught up with as of today, we're completely caught up with all of our China products that's come in. Everything's been reviewed and everything's been uploaded. And we put up 30 new videos. I'm up over 650 videos. I'm going to go back to being very selective on what I'm going to review. I showed you a big fan in our living room that I reviewed, ceiling fan. That thing's nice. And it wasn't really that hard to put up, but it takes a while. If you end up with 10 items out of the 30 that take as long as that ceiling fan to put up, you're just never gonna get caught up. So
well, good job getting caught up in everything.
Thanks, man.
I think that sounds great. Anything else we want to talk about? I think you said let's talk about that in a little bit. Can't remember what that even was now. You kind of just
but back to the Kayla thing. Yeah, I did think it was super interesting, and it's fun to dream about, living in another country. I'm pretty much making $3,000 a month on Amazon influencer. If I quit tomorrow, I'm sure that would eventually dwindle off, but it's nice because I think she say that one could live in a lot of places really well for way less than $3,000 a month.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the idea. You can live in some really, really nice places for more affordable than in certainly a lot of cities in the United States.
And she got me to kind of thinking too, it's like a lot of people from mine and your generation are kind of down on the newer generations, younger generations doing stuff like that or not working as hard or whatever. But I think it's pretty cool. A lot of them are demanding, more time off. A lot of companies are offering unlimited vacation, whatever that means. But, I think it's good that they're taking the time to smell the roses. I'm guilty of not doing enough of that a lot of times.
All right. Anyway. All right, guys. Podcast. I think that's it for the podcast. But, review us. Again, shoot us a review on wherever you're watching it. Apple Podcasts. We have a lot of people watching Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever. Give us a review. Give us a 5-star rating if you enjoy it. Be active in our Facebook group. Join our Facebook group if you haven't already. And again, we have a course coming out we're really excited about. And I think that's a wrap. Anything else, Jim Ed?
Side Hustle Heroes HQ. We'll see you on the next one.
Side Hustle Heroes HQ. Peace out.